through the window.
Longtime fan of this thread, first time poster. I'm not much of a writer, so this will be short and sweet. So I live in a small town in Australia. It's quite a nice town, but there's an ice epidemic and the crime rate has risen. Fuckload of kangaroos, too. Unfortunately, I live on the edge of a bad part of town, and there are plenty of sketch people around. Across the road is an old lady who lives alone in a brick house. About a month ago, the old lady was going about her usual Friday afternoon, heading to the local bolo to push some buttons. Anyway, when she comes home, she goes into her spare room to call her daughter before heading to bed. When she enters the room, the first thing she notices is that her window has been smashed open. The hole in the window was big enough for a man to climb through. She immediately phones the cops and hides in the bathroom until they come through the house, 20 minutes later. Now the creepy part. The police searched the area and found a man hiding in the bushes of the backyard. The man turned out to be a sex offender who had been released only 2 days beforehand. He had served 30 years for the assault of 2 other women, both also elderly, and had just gotten off parole. He had stalked her and waited until she left, jumped the fence into her backyard and smashed the window, then hid in the bushes until she arrived home, planning to attack her. The man didn't put up a fight to the police, instead calmly letting them arrest him. The lady said he stared at her intently as they ducked his head under the door into the paddy wagon. Creepy guy in the bushes. Let's not meet.
In the back seat.
Lurker here. I don't post or comment too often, but I thought of something that happened to my mom back when she was about 19 or 20. My mom was born in the late 50s in Detroit, so keep in mind she kind of came from a safer time where it was more socially acceptable to play in the streets at night, talk to strangers, and not have to worry. Anyways, winters in Michigan are rough. There's snow and sleet everywhere, and you really couldn't go anywhere without a bundle-fuck of clothes on. She was coming out of a local grocery store, and this little old lady came up to her with her face almost completely covered. The woman explained that she needed a ride to her house. My mom was reluctant at first, and questioned why she didn't have family or money for a phone call to pick her up. Odd, but she told me that she used to pick up hitchhikers a lot, so she figured this frail old lady shouldn't be out in the cold by herself. My mom started putting groceries in the trunk and said it was okay to get into the car. The woman got in the back seat. My mom just figured she was probably more comfortable in the back, so she didn't question it. She puts the car into drive and they go on their merry way. The woman explains that her house is just a few blocks away. When my mom began to wonder how much further it was going to be, the woman just said softly, "Just another block or two." And this is where shit hits the fan. My mom comes up to a red light at a busy inner city intersection. At this point, she gets a weird feeling, but nothing too alarming. As my mom is looking around from behind the wheel, she looks up in her rearview mirror, throws the car into park, and shoves open her door. That wasn't a little old lady in the back seat. It was clear as day a man that tried luring her into his house or God knows where. She's right in the middle of the intersection. She gets out of the car and opens the backseat door. She, in her words, told the man to get the fuck out of my car right now. He got up, looked at her, and walked away into the street. My mom never picked up anyone ever again.
Looking for a room. House gets raided.
Obligatory, not me, but my girlfriend. Girlfriend's lease is up and is looking for a room to rent for the remainder of college, so being a student turns to Craigslist. She finds a great-looking house in a brilliant location, about 30 minutes from the university and a 2-minute walk from the main street of a lovely little town. Rent's kinda cheap, too. The house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom place, and there's 2 guys living there. One was 24, and the other was 35, or close. I can't remember the exact age. Who both work together. Girlfriend goes for a visit and meets said guys. Thinks they're pretty decent, but the older one is a little odd. She decided to move in, and all goes well for a couple months. She gets to know the guys better, and turns out the older guy has been homeless before and had had a pretty rough start to life, but now he's firmly on his feet. She chalks up his weirdness to that. I come for a quick visit and meet these guys myself. Younger one is great, very talkative and generally a nice guy. Older one is very quiet and keeps to his room a lot. I thought he was pretty weird too. I know you're waiting for a horror story, so here it comes. About a month or so after I visit, I get a phone call from my girlfriend, who is in tears. She said that the police have raided their house with a warrant for child porn. The police had seized everyone's electronics, laptops, tablets, etc. Everyone in the house is like, what the fuck? Obviously, my girlfriend was absolutely terrified. She knew it wasn't her, and I think the police did too. She managed to get all her stuff back pretty quickly after a few trips to the station. Me and her both guessed it must have been the older guy. Turns out, it was the older guy. One day he packed up a backpack of stuff and just left the house. Left his keys on the table, never to return. We suspect he was basically running away. He left all of his other stuff in his room. Remember I said the guys worked together? A younger guy told us a few days after the older guy had run off that the older guy went into the office and basically admitted it was him, and he's been doing it for a while, and that he's going to turn himself in. Naturally, he got fired on the spot. Obviously, he didn't turn himself in and has since vanished. Too long, didn't read. Girlfriend needed a room to rent. Found house with 2 other guys living there. One turned out to be a pedophile.